Okay, so we spoke about all the types of load balancers and also the TGs. What are TGs? Now you know that how load balancer works and how to basically attach the TG with the load balancer, and what all functions we can edit using the TG, and basically what all functions the load balancer has. And also you now know about quite fair amount of knowledge about the security groups, how it works, right? And how you can control the traffic basically. So let's move on to the next topic, that is basically sticky sessions, which is also called session affinity. Now, yesterday, you basically saw the default type of behavior, load balancing behavior, which was round robin, right? So if you had three instances, the traffic was equally distributed over all the three instances. Now, this again is a type of load balancing wherein you basically work with the cookie. I mean, it is possible to implement the stickiness so that the same client is always redirected to the same instance behind a load balancer. So you might have a I mean, requirement that a particular what do you say, client, right, should go to the particular backend server for his request, because maybe you are basically storing some values or some data inside the cookie, and then if the client gets redirected to another server, he will lose that data, right? So for example, you just think about a shopping cart. You might have a cart which you're storing inside a cookie. Now that cookie is stored with the server A. Now when you move to server B doesn't know about that cookie. So that is the whole idea. The client will be I mean, losing his cart again and again, so he'll be frustrated and he'll say like, what I mean, he'll just probably think the design is not good, right? So we don't want that, and we want the session to be persistent using the cookies. So this is how we use it. Now we will see the action behind it, how it works. Now you fairly got an amount of idea how it works, but yeah, let's try to understand this with the animation. So say client 1 tries to access the ALB DNS, and it redirects you to the EC2 on the left. Now again, one client comes, the second client comes, and it gets redirected to EC2 on the right, and third, and it gets redirected to EC2 on the right again. Now if the first client again comes with a request, it will be redirected to EC2 on the left side because of the session cookie, right? Sticky session is what we call, but it works with the cookie behind the scene. This works for classic load balancer and ALB. So it works for CLB and ALB, doesn't work with the NLB. And the cookie used for stickiness has an expiration date control, date that you can control. So you have the control over this, how long, the period basically, how long the cookie should be valid, right? Once it has been shared with the client. Now use cases would be make sure the user doesn't lose his session data. So you want to basically store the session data of your user. Enabling stickiness may bring imbalance to the load over the backend EC2 instances. This can happen, but mostly, I mean, this has the use cases would be basically to store the session data. That is the main, I mean, use case in this. Yeah, so I just quickly want to talk about the cookie names. This is important because there are some names that are used by the AWS services which you cannot use in your cookie names, and we will just see what all those are. Application-based cookies, you can have custom cookies generated by the target itself, can include any custom attribute required by the application. So it depends on the application now what you want to use inside the attribute, whether the name, it depends, right? How you want to basically identify the cookie. So let's say we want to identify the cookie based on the name. The cookie name must be specified individually for each TG. So you can have this on the TG level or on the ALB level as well. You will see that. Now, these are the names of the cookie that you cannot use, because these are basically reserved for use by the ELB itself. So you have AWS ALB that is used by the ELB, and AWS ALB app, and AWS ALB TG, which is basically used by the target group. So these are the names that you should not use while creating the cookie. We will see in the demo basically. Then you have the application cookie. Now you can have cookies based on the application that you're using. This is basically generated by your load balancer. Cookie name is AWS ALB app, the second one, right? This is again a name that you cannot use, which is already taken by the ALB itself. Duration based cookie, as we spoke, so we will be basically demonstrating the same, the duration based cookie, because we are not having any applications in the backend. So yeah, we can use this to just do the demo. Cookies generated by the load balancer itself. That means the load balancer, when it generates the custom cookie, it will name it as AWS ALB, and we will see this in the browser. If you go to the developer options, you will be able to see this name AWS ALB, because this is generated by the load balancer. Now cookie name is AWS ALB for ALB, and AWS ELB if you're using a classic load balancer. So I think yesterday we have already seen how we can deploy the ALB. Now today we'll just quickly deploy CLB, so that you can in a quick fashion see the difference, right? The difference is basically on the level how you attach the EC2 instances. In ALB you will be using something called the TG, but in CLB you will directly attach the instances. Now I should create a CLB. So for that, if I check into my EC2 instance, I think I'm already running 2 instances. Just wanted to be a step ahead. So yeah, I'm running these 2 instances. I will just quickly create a load balancer, but this time I will go for the CLB because I don't have to create the TG there. Should be much simpler. Now you will be able to see that. So I'll scroll down to the classic load balancer and I'll say create. Now this is the configuration where you add the name. So I'll say demo CLB, and I'll select my default VPC. I'll not change anything here. You can make this an internal load balancer, but for me it is a public one. And now here you configure the listener. I'll be listening on port 80. Next I'll be assigning the group. So I'll say demo ALB because I have added only port 80 on that as well. So on the outside, I'll be allowing only port 80. Next, next configure the health check. So it is quite simple because I don't work with TG here. So while the configuration is going on, I can do the health check. So I'm doing on the root level, not the index.html. I'm using port 80. That means the EC2 instance port 80 should also be allowed on the security group. I'll be keeping the if you want to tweak, you can tweak the timers for the health check, but I'm just going to keep it as default. Now let's add the EC2 instance. So here you can see there's no concept of TG, so I can just directly add the instances as much as I want. Now this is something called connection draining. I will explain to you this. What is this? Let's just keep it as 90 seconds. And then I can go for a tag. Let's just leave it like this. And then I can look at the summary, what I did, and then I can create. So all looks fine. I'll just create this. Now close this. Okay, now you see here, this is my CLB and I have all the options here. Now I can see what all things I have configured, the name. Now it has got a DNS name by default, which I can use to publicly access the application, and which in our case will be a web server. And you can look into all other details like AZs. So it is deployed as multi-AZ. And here you can see the stickiness option, which is disabled by default. I will show you the difference. Then here you can see the SG, which is attached to it, and also the other attributes, and the cross zone load balancing, which I said it is enabled by default on the CLB and as well as on the ALB. But on the ALB you don't have an option to disable it, but here you can disable it, right? Okay, let's go back. Now I can see how many instances I have and also the status. So it's still in service. That means I will not be able to go and validate this. Now let's go and do the health check. Let's see the settings on there. I'm doing the health check on port 80. And these are the intervals, and then I can see the listener that I have configured. I can go and edit the listener if I want. And now monitor, this is the one restriction tag migration. I mean, it's all simple. Now let's move on to the instances and see if it's in health check. Now if the health check is not completing, then there could be a problem with the SG of your EC2 instance. Now I want to go to my EC2 instance and check the SG. What is it that is I mean failing? So if I go to my EC2 instance, or maybe it will take some time, just do a cross verification. I'll go to the security, I'll go to this one, and I see it is basically the, yeah, this is enabled. So I have TCP port 80 HTTP, right, which is doing the health check. So from the outside or from the any other service inbound rules, I have HTTP allowed. So that is not an issue. So I think we need to wait for a little bit so that the health check is completed, and then everything will be working fine. So I'll go back to my ALB, basically CLB, not ALB. So let's wait for this to complete. Now, if I want to go to this demo.aws, this is the external DNS on the CLB. Let's try it. It's not working now. Yeah, now it's working now. Fine. So I should be having what do you say, the type of load balancing, which is round robin, 108 118 108 18, correct? So I know that right now I can directly also go to the instance and access that. Now you know how to control that, but I'll just leave it like that. Now what I want to see is the stickiness. So if I enable the sticky sessions, that means when I go to I mean next time when I go, when it's enabled, I should be I mean going to only one instance till the period expires. So I'll be doing that. Let's go to the basically description of the CLB, and I should have the stickiness here. This option is basically inside the TG when you are using with working with NLB or ALB. Now, as I said, you can have two types of cookies. One is application generated, one is load balancer generated. Now here we don't have an application, so we'll do what? We will basically generate a load balancer cookie, which should have a name. If I remember, it's AWS ALB. Yeah, now we will see that inside the browser cookie. The expiration period, I'll keep it short so that we could see the difference, and I would save this now. 60 seconds. Done. That's it. Now if I go to my browser, now you can see the load balancing has stopped, right? I'm just stuck to this .18. So my cookie stickiness has started working. Now how to see this? Now you just have to press on F12. You can go to the developer options, network, and then you can basically refresh once. Now you see that this HTTP request. Now inside headers, you see that this is a GET request, and basically you can see the, what do you say, the cookie. Yeah, you can see the name AWS CLB. Is it clear? Should I maximize this? Can I do it? Yeah. So you can see the cookie name AWS ELB. That's why it's I mean mentioned that you should not use this name because this is already taken by the ELB, and also some other name. So if I go to the cookie section, I can basically see more options. I'll just go back and I can see the name. I can basically see the value. Let me just expand the link. So this is the cookie that the application is sending back to the ELB, and that's how the session is intact. Right now, I just want to see. I will not be able to see because, okay, let me do one thing. I will just copy this and go to, I can go to a new browser, or I can go to incognito mode. This should throw me onto the other, yeah, this is now. So you can see here, I'm going to the other instance, and this should be sticky to that instance 108, while here I'm stuck to 18. And you can see the details here, expiry, everything you can see inside the cookie. Yeah, I can see the name of the domain as well, lots of details. Yeah, and then the age also you can see. And once the the period is over, it should throw me to the next EC2 instance. Now I want to go to this one, and this is basically on 108. I'll just cross it, and I'll basically so hope this is clear, and I will just disable the stickiness, save it. Now after some time, they should again fall back to round robin. Okay.